Hey, good day to everybody. Welcome to another episode of Andrew's Life. I am currently driving through the south side of Richmond, Indiana. And if I was a betting individual, I would say this is probably the poorest side of town. This is probably where where the poor part of
your destination is on the left.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm just going to take a guess. Yeah, I'm going to take a guess this is the poor section of the city, so to speak. And, you know, and there's nothing wrong with living in the poor section of the city. There really ain't. There really isn't. I mean, if you're younger or maybe you ran into some situations and housing-wise, you have to start things over. Like maybe you may have just gotten out of a divorce and all your money's gone due to alimony and lawyer fees and other type of fees, or whatever you're going through in life. Or maybe you're like me and you just don't want to pay a lot of money for housing. You want your property taxes and all that good stuff to be low. I mean, those are all good reasons to live in the poor section of the city. I mean, just because a side of town is poor doesn't mean that it's dangerous. It doesn't mean that it's not safe. And as I told you on previous videos, there's a big difference between a poor section of a smaller city like this one and the poor section of a much larger city such as Indianapolis or Chicago. I mean, for the most part, if you live in a poor section of a smaller city, all you gotta do is just be yourself. Stay away from negativity. Stay away from any kind of drama, and you'll be okay. And if you have a little bit of street smarts to go with that bit of common sense I just dropped, then you'll be just fine. And sometimes in areas like these, as I told you on previous videos, you can find some rather remarkable deals when it comes to housing. You can find you a relatively nice house on a decent sized lot, quiet neighborhood, all in all, decent people. I mean, don't let people fool you. Don't let the media fool you. I mean, just because a neighborhood is poor doesn't necessarily mean that it's dangerous. I mean, look at this up. I'm gonna back up here so y'all can see what I'm talking about. I mean, look at this house right here. This little white house. I mean, it's got a 2-car garage. And just by looking at the yard, it looks like it comes on about a 1/4 of an acre or so. Now, I'm not sure if that house is occupied or not, so I'm not going to pull up in the driveway. But that's just a small example of some of the type of setups that you can find when you look around in lower income communities. Now, if you look real closely around here, as I drive further down the street here, you'll see some smaller houses that do come with a decent sized lot. I mean, some of these areas, it's gonna almost be like living in the country. Because there's pockets in communities like this to where, as I say, you'll find, I mean, even in this current housing market, you might be able to grab you up a moving condition ready home for 40-some grand that comes on a 1/4 of an acre. That even might come with a garage as well. And this is the reason why it pays to not listen to the media, and to instead get out here on your own and do your own research. And whatever information you want to know, find it out for yourself. Or tune in to channels like my channel, to where I'll be as truthful and transparent as possible. Because I don't have no special agenda to tell people to live in one place or another. My only agenda at this point is to, of course, build my channel, and in building my channel, exposing as many affordable places to live as possible, which I think is a good agenda, because despite that we're one of the wealthiest countries on the globe, we have among the highest homeless population rates on the globe too, which makes no sense. I mean, you got all these communities with all these dilapidated houses, and yet you got people that are homeless, living in tents and living under bridges and bullshit like that. So, I mean, to me, it makes no sense. My attitude is, if someone can move into some of these houses that need a little bit of work, fix them up a little bit, and have a home at the end of the day. Not only that, but it would also improve the community, because you would have that many less houses vacant, and it will also help the revenue out for the city, because that particular property would go back on the city tax, tax roll. The city once again would be able to make their money on taxes, because somebody would be occupying that property. So I feel when I make these type of videos, I'm doing the public a huge service. I mean, it may not seem like it because my channel is so small, but I feel in my heart that when I make these type of videos, I'm doing the public a good service. I'm exposing affordable housing to people that watch YouTube and watch channels like this one. I mean, for those of you that watch cable and tune in to mainstream television, try finding content like this on HGTV. You never will, because a lot of your mainstream channels have an agenda to push, and that agenda has nothing to do with helping out the everyday common man or woman. You see, with me, I'm trying to help out everyday people like myself. I'm trying to help out people that are either on the verge of homelessness or currently are homeless. I'm trying to enable as many people as possible to be blessed by this universe through housing, I guess you can say. Now, when I first started my channel, you know, I was gonna make all kind of videos just basically talking about budgeting, talking about money and what have you. And honestly, this channel kind of took a life of its own. I mean, I found myself doing video after video after video of jumping in this van and just driving around to different neighborhoods and exposing affordable housing solutions in different in different smaller communities. Because for one of the biggest things that people spend money on is housing. I mean, most people that are in debt, one of the biggest debts that many people have is their mortgage. For those that pay rent or make any kind of housing payment, that house payment is the single biggest bill that most people have. So my attitude is, if I can expose affordable housing solutions to as many people as possible, they're looking for that for whatever reason, probably because they need it, or they're like me, they just don't want to work their life away paying a mortgage. So for people who got their sense about themselves and they're out here trying to find some affordable housing, that way they can lower their overhead and live a better life as a result. I mean, you know, those are the kind of reasons why I make these videos. Because for most of us, the biggest expense we have is our housing. And to be quite honest, I enjoy making videos like this far more than cooking or just sitting in front of a computer or a camera and doing a bunch of talking. I enjoy just hopping in the van, just driving through different areas like I'm doing right now, and just making different videos just to show you people what affordable housing looks like. That just because you're out here looking for affordable housing doesn't necessarily mean you gotta live somewhere in some dirty, nasty, crime-infested ghetto in the urban area. I mean, if you look hard enough, or if you watch channels like my channel, you'll find little areas like out here where you can find yourself some affordable housing. You can buy your home for as low as 40-some thousand bucks. I mean, if you're taking out a mortgage, you can find homes that are priced in the $70-some thousand range, and you can still live in a relatively quiet community. I mean, affordable housing doesn't have to be to where you're living somewhere in the ghetto. That, you know, like I said, you don't have to live in the ghetto for affordable housing. And as I've told you on previous videos, the ghetto, quote unquote, is nothing more than a mindset. The ghetto only becomes a physical location after you choose to be in the ghetto mentally. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. If you live in a poor neighborhood, But if you adopt the same basic beliefs and values that many people who live in more wealthier communities tend to adopt in their life, you can live just as good as them on a lower scale. I mean, you can live just as good as them on a smaller scale. I mean, just like people in the suburbs, like keep their yards clean and looking nice, and keep up on their property maintenance and stuff like that. I mean, that's something that anybody in any community can do. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be wealthy to do any of that kind of stuff. I mean, having pride in your community and pride in your property and just exercising good stewardship of the resources is something that anybody can do. You look at a lot of wealthy people. One of the main reasons why wealthy people are wealthy is because they do tend to exercise good stewardship with their resources. They do tend to take care of what they have. That way they don't have to keep replacing the same thing over and over and over, spending a bunch of money that is not necessary to spend. Like, for an example, if you go out here and you buy you a vehicle this year, if you take good care of it, I mean, depending, of course, on the age of the vehicle, if you take good care of that vehicle may last you another 10, 15 years. But if you buy that vehicle and you drive it like a mad person, and you don't take care of it, you don't maintain it right, chances are pretty good that you're going to have to replace that vehicle within the next few years. Which means more money being spent on vehicles. Money that could have otherwise been saved and invested towards, let's say, a retirement plan of some sort, or maybe a business or something. But a lot of people who are not wealthy don't seem to understand that people who are wealthy, people who are doing good financially, are doing good financially primarily because they tend to exercise good stewardship with their resources. And I would say that Richmond, Indiana, a lot like many other smaller cities I've done videos on, is a hit and miss type of city. I mean, you got certain parts of town here to where the houses are older and closer in together with smaller lots. You got other areas like out here where you got a little bit more room. The yards are a little bigger, houses are a little smaller. You got certain areas that are not kept up all that well. And you got other areas that are kept up fairly well. So I would say if you're looking to buy a house here in Richmond, Indiana, bear that in mind. And in fact, I would say in many smaller communities like this, not just here in the Midwest, but also in the South, you'll run into a lot of scenarios to where a lot of your neighborhoods are going to be very much hit and miss. Like you might go down one block and you'll have all kinds of people standing on the corner selling drugs and just doing a bunch of negative stuff. And then you'll go down the street a little bit, maybe a block or two down the road, and it will be a completely different atmosphere. And I ran into a lot of that, like even when I was down in Montgomery, Alabama, and also when I was down in some of even the smaller communities in Alabama, as well as all through here in Indiana, I run into that quite often. So, like for an example, you go to Anderson, Indiana, the side of town to stay away from, so to speak, is the west side of Anderson. However, if you're on the west side of Anderson, you'll find that not all of West Anderson is necessarily bad. Only certain parts of West Anderson is bad. So yeah, I mean, like I said, if you're wherever you choose to look at, wherever you choose to live, wherever you think you're gonna live, your best bet is to jump in your vehicle and take rides like this and look and drive through the city yourself. Whatever neighborhood you're looking to live in, just hop in your car, drive through the area, do your own due diligence, ask all the appropriate questions to people who you feel comfortable speaking to. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. And a lot of times, when you talk to the neighbors that are in the area of the house that you're looking to purchase, I mean, a lot of times they'll have some history about the property that either A, the seller or the realtor didn't know. I mean, a lot of times if you talk to neighbors, they'll be able to tell you a little bit of history about the property that you're looking to purchase, that either A, the seller nor the realtor is wanting to tell you, or B, the realtor truly didn't know because the seller chose not to reveal that information. I mean, because sometimes there's certain pieces of information that you can learn about a piece of property just by talking to neighbors. And in learning some of that information, it might save you a good $300, $400, $500 or so in a ton of time. Because rather than hiring a home inspector to check that house out for you, I mean, depending on what information that you receive from neighbors, and then you go and you do your own due diligence and make sure everything that they say is on the money, you might decide, you know what, I'm not going to buy that house. Like for an example, if you find that the house is in a flood zone, or you find that the house regularly floods when it rains heavily, or maybe the property taxes might be way higher than what you're able to or willing to pay. I mean, any information like that could be enough to steer a lot of people away from buying that particular house. So it's always good to make an effort, at least, to speak to neighbors of whatever community, of whatever house you're looking to purchase.